Well, hello everyone. So, today you're going to have your lesson two. Your lesson two about complex definitions. What exactly are you going to learn today? How to draft sophisticated, watertight definitions, clauses in English, 12 key vocabulary words with phonetics. As for grammar, present simple for definitions, passive and deeming provisions, and formal structures. And of course, how to write inclusive, exhaustive, and deeming definitions that courts will respect. So let's go on. І на правах реклами ви можете знайти цей воркшіт і набагато більше освітнього контенту в нашому телеграм-каналі та інших соціальних мережах. Ось вам невеличкий QR-кодик, ви можете його відсканувати, або ви можете знайти нас за ось цим ім'ям. The 13th tense, 13-й час. And let's go to a little video content. As always, we start with a little core vocabulary. Inclusive definition. What is an inclusive definition? A definition that includes examples but is not limited to them. Losses means all losses, damages, and costs, including legal fees. Exhaustive definition. It is kind of an opposite. It is a definition that sets out a complete closed list. Permitted users. It means the 5 named employees in Schedule 1 and no others. Yep. Deeming provision. Deeming provision. A clause that treats something as legally true even if it actually uncertain, even if it's factually uncertain. Notice is deemed received 48 hours after posting, whether or not actually received. Okay? For the purposes of. It is a limiting definition to a specific context within the agreement. For the purposes of this clause 5, business day means a day banks are open in London. Unless the context otherwise requires. It is a standard phrase. It means the definition applies except where context demands otherwise. Unless the context otherwise requires, words in the singular include the plural. Capitalized. Capitalized. It is written with capital letters, big letters, to signal it is a defined term. Agreement, party, and services are capitalized because they are defined terms. Defined term. That's a word or phrase that is given a specific meaning in the definition clause. Once you create a defined term, use it consistently throughout the contract. As the case may be, whichever of the stated alternatives applies. The buyer or seller, as the case may be, shall bear the cost of delivery. Including without limitation, making clear that the list is not exhaustive. IP rights includes without limitation patents, trademarks, and copyright. Mutatis mutandis, with the necessary changes haven't been made. That's a Latin phrase. Clause 8 shall apply to Schedule 2, Mutatis mutandis, referred to as the phrase used to introduce a defined term for the first time. ABC Limited, hereinafter referred to as the supplier. Cross-reference definition. A definition that points to another clause rather than stating the meaning directly. Services has the meaning given in clause 3. A little pro tip for you. The definitions clause is one of the most powerful and dangerous parts of a contract. Always ask 3 questions when drafting a definition. Is it inclusive or exhaustive? Does it need a deeming provision? Is it consistent with how the term is used throughout the rest of the contract? And as for grammar, present simple plus passive in deeming provisions plus formal structures. Let's go. So the structure, definitions. Always present simple. because it is permanent meaning. It is always true. Agreement means this agreement, including all schedules and annexes. Losses includes all losses, damages, and costs. It's all in present simple, right? Inclusive versus exhaustive. Inclusive. Losses means all losses, damages, and costs, including legal fees. Including, that's an open list. Exhaustive. Permitted uses mean the persons listed in Schedule 1 and no others. Please keep in mind, we don't really use persons in a spoken regular general English, okay? We use people, but in this case, it is appropriate to say persons. And no others, that is a closed list. Deeming provisions, they are always in a passive voice. Notice is deemed to have been received 48 hours after posting. Passive. A document is deemed executed when signed by an authorized signatory. Passive. Delivery is deemed to have occurred upon signature of the delivery note. Passive. Formal structures. Term means something. That's a standard. Term has the meaning given in clause certain. Cross-reference definition. Term, defined term. First, use in imperative clause. Hereinafter referred to as the term. That's a formal or older style, but it is still common. Yep. Model definitions clause. Let's read and analyze. In this agreement, unless the context otherwise requires, business day means any day other than a Saturday, Sunday, or public holiday in England and Wales, on which banks are generally open for business in London. Confidential information means all information, in whatever form, disclosed by one party to the other in connection with this agreement, including, without limitation, trade secrets, technical data, business plans, and financial information, but excluding information that is or becomes publicly available through no fault of the receiving party. Losses means all losses, damages, costs, expenses, claims, and liabilities, including reasonable legal fees. Services has the meaning given in clause 3. The only thing I don't really like in this context is reasonable legal fees. What exactly do we consider reasonable legal fees? That's the question. So in here, what do we say? What can we see actually? Unless the context otherwise requires. That's a standard opening qualifier. Business day. It is exhaustive because it is defined by exclusion. No Saturdays, Sundays, etc. Confidential information. It is inclusive, including without limitation. Plus, we have a carve out, but excluding. Services has the meaning given in clause 3. That's a cross-reference definition. Yep. Here are some common mistakes that we have. Agreement is the contract between the parties. Agreement means this agreement dated date. Agreement is always going to be with means, not is. It is better to be using it, okay? Including legal fees and other things. Including, without limitation, legal fees. Because what is legal? What is other things? What is that? The notice is deemed received when we say so. What exactly is when we say so? Notice is deemed received hours after posting, 48 hours after posting. Confidential information, lowercase. Confidential information, it's capitalized because it's a defined term. Losses includes damages, costs, etc. Losses means all losses, damages, and costs. It's better to use means and avoid etc. in contracts, okay? Of course, where it's appropriate. And a quick check, I'm giving you 20 seconds starting right now. Please pause the video and is each definition inclusive or exhaustive? And then check it below, okay? Take your time, take your sweet time. I'm giving you a few more seconds. And time is up. Let's go. Let's check it. So, authorized users means the employees listed by name in Schedule 2 and no others. and no others. That's exhaustive. Losses means all losses, damages, costs, and expenses, including legal fees. Including, that's inclusive. Permitted jurisdictions means England and Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland only. Only, that's exhaustive. Intellectual property includes, without limitation, patents, trademarks, designs, and copyright. Without limitation, inclusive. Force majeure event means any event beyond the reasonable control of a party, including acts of God, war, or pandemic. Including, that's an open list. So that is inclusive. And a little speaking challenge and question for you guys. So, could you please look at these terms and draft definitions for them? For each, decide, is it inclusive or is it exhaustive? And does it need a deeming provision? Commencement date, intellectual property rights, and notice. When is it deemed received? And the question for the comments. What is the most confusing or poorly written definition you have ever seen in the contract? You can actually share it in English or Ukrainian or in whatever language you're working with it. Italian, Chinese, I have no idea. So share it, and it would be better if you translated it into English, okay? And let's fix it together. And then the last part in here is the workbook with some exercises, but I'm not going to show it to you. As always, I'm that person. I'm not going to show it to you here. So you can find it in our Telegram channel, the 13 steps. You can complete it, and then in the very end, you're going to see the answers. And in here, you have a QR code that you can actually scan and go into our Telegram channel. And you guys, I was so happy to see you today. I was so happy to talk to you today. I was so happy that you clicked on this video. And I suppose I really, really, really hope to see you next time in the next video. Stay safe. Bye bye.